Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Funky Like Feathers, and today we're going to be talking about everything that I read for June of 2021. What was your favorite book that you read this month? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. So first I want to start with the kids' books. So first I read 4 books from the Dragon Master series. I do read these for classes. It's not the first time that I've read these. However, this is a very fun series. It follows Drake and his several new friends who are Dragon Masters all around the world with their different tasks that they have to complete in order to help the dragons and the cities from which they come. So it is a very cool series. It is primarily geared towards the 5 to 10 age bracket. So if you have kids in that age range, they may really like these for summer reading. So I rate this series 4 out of 5 just because, you know, obviously it's not my 5 out of 5 picks, but they are amazing stories. I do see little things along the way that, you know, as somebody who has read the entire series, that I would change, but it is an amazing series. 4 out of 5 on my list. The next kids series that I read was The Last Firehawk. So I finished off this series. It currently has only 9 books out. Book number 10 does not come out until November. That is the same for the Dragon Masters series. Dragon Masters has 18 books out of 20 out right now. Book 19 comes out later this month, and then book 20 doesn't come out until November. So these series will be finished up in November, and then you can get the entire set. But so far, The Last Firehawk actually ended on a pretty good cliffhanger for book number 9. So I'm actually excited to see how that series ends come November. I give this series 4 out of 5, kind of same reasons as the Dragon Master series. I've read the entire series that's currently out. I understand story structure pretty well, but it is a children's series, and I think that they've really done a great job with this. So definitely 4 out of 5. All right, working up in that age bracket, next up I've got a middle grade book, and that is Nightmares. This was actually a lot of fun. This follows a kid named Charlie. You can see him on the back having his cup of coffee. He's having a very difficult time dealing with his dad getting married to this new woman after his mother died, and they move into her house, which is this house right here. Everything's purple. And it also happens to have a portal into the nightmare realm. And this is how Charlie deals with trying to make it through the nightmare realm, trying to come back, you know, to the world that he's from, and everything that he has to overcome on the way. You meet some really interesting characters in this one. I have to say it was a lot of fun to read. There were some heavier topics brought up. Like I mentioned, Charlie's mom does die. She's dead when the story begins, so you don't have to go through that. However, his step-parent coming in, it is very interesting to see a step-parent in a story. You don't usually get that. However, I do kind of wish we didn't get the stereotypical stepmother situation, but it was a fun story nonetheless. So Nightmares definitely goes into some of my favorite books. I thought the story was a lot of fun. There were only a couple of places where I would change something. There is kind of an 18-month time period that is just kind of elapsed, and I really wish that we had more of that. But I do understand how they tried to set up for the main idea of this book. It is actually the first book in a trilogy, so once you fall in love with this one, you can actually read 2 more books with the same characters. I gave this one a 4 out of 5 because it's so close. I just wish that we had a couple of those holes filled in. Now, young adult. So here we go. We're going up a little bit more, some more high school stage. Here we go into the Uglies series. I did read the first book from the Uglies series. This is very interesting. So we have a dystopian universe in this one where everyone lives in Uglyville until they turn 16. And then they have a very serious operation, which then they move to New Pretty Town. And this follows a girl named Tally and her new friend Shay as they come to get to know each other and then try to figure out if there's actually more going on than meets the eye as far as the pretties go. This actually, wow, I have to say, this is a great beginning to a series. I'm very excited that there are 4 books in this series because there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of different layers to things. So if you have a high school student who just is having a difficult time, you know, getting into a very cool that's my dog, getting into a really cool series, or if you just are wanting something that's more along that dystopian vibe, this is a great series to get into. This book I gave a 4.5, I think, on my scale, 4.5 out of 5 for this one. It's so good, and it's just so close to being a 5, but it is an amazing start. There were a couple of things that I had a couple of questions on, but other than that, I mean, I'm sure that those questions will get answered as we go through the rest of the series. Like I said, it is the first book out of 4, so we have plenty of time to get those questions answered, but for right now, 4.5. All right, so one of the books that I finished from Sarah J. Maas this past month was Throne of Glass. This was very cool. Again, it is an assassin who her name's Selena, like bitty bitty bomb bomb. So every time I see her name, that's exactly what I think of. But this is a very cool book. This is the official book 1 in the series. There is actually a prequel book called The Assassin's Blade. So if you want to start off with the prequel, go with that. However, this is book 1 in the series. But it does follow Selena as she has to fight off 23 other assassins in order to become the king's assassin, or, you know, his champion, so that she can also win her freedom from a very terrible labor camp. So her character is built up nicely. We've got a lot of good character development that happens here. We do have some different settings that contrast to each other. And this is Hank coming in on the side. But there is a lot of stuff going on in this one. Hello, handsome. Oh, they're all in. So Throne of Glass, Sarah J. Maas, again, has another great series on her hands. I'm excited to go and try the next book in the series, but we'll talk about that in my TBR for this next month. All right, Throne of Glass, my rating for this one was 4 out of 5. It's a very good story. I had a lot of fun reading this. There's a lot of bantering back and forth, a lot of casual conversation, which I'm waiting to kind of see how that matures over the entire series. I believe it's 8 books in this series right now. So there's a lot of time for things to change. There's a lot of time for different relationships to mature, things like that. But I did give this a pretty good grade because I'm pretty excited about it, and I was really looking forward to the next one. Going into the adult genre. So here I've got The Maidens. I can see your big schnoz, Gabe. I'm almost done with The Maidens. I did start this month. It is going very well. This is the same author who wrote Silent Patient. So if you liked Silent Patient, then you will definitely like this one. It has a very dark academia theme to it, as well as psychological thriller. So it is a lot of fun. There is some Greek mythology tossed in, but don't worry, like, they have things really broken down. So you don't have to know mythology in order to get what's going on. They literally spell it out for you. So I have to say, this is actually going really well. I'm excited to see if the twist is what I expect by the end of this one. So we shall see. So this book is about a woman whose illegitimate daughter, niece kind of thing, is at university, and turns out that her best friend dies. The aunt goes in to comfort her. The aunt is a psychologist, so she's actually going in to, like, really check on her niece. Turns out somebody else dies while she's there, another student who kind of hung out in the exact same crowd. So then we're finding out that there may be more than meets the eye as far as one of the professors at the university goes. There are other characters introduced along the way, so obviously it is a psychological thriller, so will one of the other side characters be the one who done it, or will it be the main person we think? I don't know yet. I haven't reached the end. I'll tell you when I get there. Or hey, read it yourself. Let's find out together. So The Maidens, I'm trying to figure out exactly how this one is going to end. I just don't know yet. We'll try. I'm thinking that I'm going to give this one a 5, maybe, because I really liked The Silent Patient. And if this one ends up going kind of the same way that one did, it definitely will be one of my 5-star books for the year. So I'm waiting to see the end of this before I give it its official rating. So I have been also reading a classic this month. The classic that I'm reading is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, one of the most well-known stories of all time, I would pretty much say. It is the catalyst for many other books that have been written over the time. So Jane Eyre is pretty much about a girl named Jane, shockingly enough, and she has a kind of difficult childhood. She ends up moving to a place called the Lowood School that has extremely low funding, but she does learn a lot while she's there, and then she leaves to become a governess at a household, and all of the trials and tribulations of falling in love with the man of the house. So there are some fun twists and turns along the way. This definitely does have a different language style than contemporary writing, obviously. So if you're not into romantic writing, if you are not into understanding an idea that someone is writing out, this may be a little bit difficult to get for you. However, there are contemporary adaptations of the story that you can find, even kind of translation styles. So, if you want to kind of check that out, look for different ways that people have changed up the Jane Eyre story. One of my favorites is My Plain Jane. I'm actually letting my kid listen to it right now because it is such a fun taking of Jane Eyre. It's a very exciting retelling of the original Jane Eyre story. They turn it into a ghost story, which is just hilarious, but they still kind of stick to the main bones of the story at the same time without giving you too much of the background. So, we're reading My Plain Jane at the same time as me kind of explaining where the original part of that story came from, if that makes sense. But it's been a lot of fun. So, as far as rating Jane Eyre, how can you give it anything less than a 5? Especially because of its influence over the time. It's just completely timeless. There's no way to not love something about Jane Eyre. I have loved this story since the first time that I read it back in high school. I think I read it freshman year in high school, and I've always loved it. And I have seen so many times where books actually kind of pull from that Jane Eyre story. And there's always something cool about it every time I reread it. So definitely giving this one a 5. That is what I have been reading this month. Let me know what you read last month down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you guys, and I will see y'all on the next video. Bye, you guys.